there's one color theme to this movie, it's
this guy right here. I don't have any red shirts. I worked for Target for like 9 years, and when I left Target, I got rid of all my khaki shorts and all my red shirts.
You burn shirt bridges.
Yeah. But hey, maybe if we're lucky, I'll end up with red on me today, because maybe I'm going to get slaughtered like many of the people in the film we're talking about. Slumber Party Massacre. We're going to talk the first film, this feminist masterpiece.
Yeah, I'll call it a masterpiece. Let's do it.
Let's go. Welcome back to the show. I'm one of your hosts, Kyle Goethe from GoatFilmReviews.com.
Hey, I'm Nick from the St. Paul Filmcast. Thanks for finding us. Thanks for watching. And for our loyal fans, thank you for continuing to support the show. You can follow the show on Twitter and on Instagram. We do have a Patreon. Check that out for some great deals. Eventually, we're going to turn out our best of from 1997 in a couple of weeks, so Patreon members can check that list out in that video. Today, we're going to talk about another film from 1982, turns 40. I consider it a classic. It's Slumber Party Massacre.
Best title of all time, too.
It does, yeah.
So when Trish Devereaux's parents leave town, she decides to throw a slumber party with her friends.
Trish is such an awesome 80s name.
What they do not know, however, is that escaped mass murderer Russ Thorne is heading through her neighborhood, armed with bad thoughts and a power drill.
All right, so the story goes that Amy Holden Jones submitted a short film for the American Film Institute in student category when she was in college. One of the judges for that film contest was Marty Scorsese, and he liked her so much he recruited her to be part of Raging Bull on production set, and that's where Amy met her future husband, cinematographer Michael Chapman. And eventually from meeting on Raging Bull, she was, I think, part of the camera crew on that. She was pretty much well-known around Hollywood to be one of the marquees. And Steven Spielberg recruited her to be on set for E.T. She turned it down to direct this movie we're talking about today.
Because if you're ever going to turn down E.T., it's got to be for Slumber Party Massacre.
This is funny because in 82... everybody's tongue, everybody went to see E.T.
Oh, yeah. It was the one movie from 82 that actually was successful amongst the midst of everything. The Thing, Blade Runner, all these movies
I had
that
an
failed.
E.T. shirt, sweatshirt, and, you know, the McDonald's Happy Meal action figure and everything. But this gets talked about more now than E.T. does.
I think so. Yeah. And this is not a slight against E.T. I don't watch E.T. ever. I own a copy of it. I've maybe watched it once in the last 10 years. I don't visit E.T. that often. I think I've played the E.T. like Nintendo game more than I've watched the movie because of how terrible it is. It's awful. But regardless of that, to turn down Steven Spielberg is a shocking thing, because even he's not the Steven Spielberg today, but he had 7 years of hits. And these are like iconic Spielberg films, from 75's Jaws all the way to like Close Encounters, and like he had done a lot at that point that would have made him the man to work for. And I've been listening to a lot of Postmortem, which is a bunch of people basically talk about how like Steven Spielberg was like the person who inspired them to make movies, and she turned him down.
But she married Michael Chapman, a great cinematographer.
Yeah.
So she did this movie. I would regard this as written as a parody, sold as a legit horror movie, that now, reflecting back 40 years, it's a parody.
Yeah.
Even though they were supposed to not sell it as a parody. It's written by Rita Mae Brown, a feminine activist. She wrote this as her answer to the slash movies that come out as a joke, almost.
Yeah. I'm not sure if it was even intentional to make the movie, or if it was like she wanted to see how much she could get away with before they told her, we're not making this. You know, it almost felt like this jibe at the whole idea of the slasher film. And what's funny to me is I don't know who knew what this movie was or when they knew it, because Roger Corman picked it up as a producer, and
well, you put that in the title, he's going to pick it up, right?
Yeah. But the thing is, he wanted this movie, but he kept saying more boobs, more blood. Like, you know, he was the guy who was like, every 5-10 minutes you've got to have someone get naked or get slaughtered. That was a Corman thing. And, you know, did Amy Holden Jones know that she was making a parody? I don't even know if she knew at the time that she was, because she was heavily criticized for making this movie because it was very, you know, people said this was anti-women, and she was like, no, it's they're the smart ones. If you look at the guys in the movie, they're dumb. Killers,
the guys,
they are all stupid. And some of the women are too, but
the two guys walk away from the van as she gets murdered, and like,
yeah. But even like when they go and like go outside to search for him, and they're just quickly dispatched by Driller Killer. And this Driller Killer is not a very good killer either. He's kind of just like let's just take disturbing weird guy with a drill to the nth degree.
But she's also mocking with the shower scene of the male gaze. I'm like, she almost looked like, I don't want to. The girls are naked, but I don't want to be there. It's kind of, and they're just talking stupid stuff.
Yeah,
it's almost like they forget their clothes are off. Mm-hmm. But it's not. It's almost like it's just matter of factly.
Yeah.
Rather than we're gonna pan up and down women and all that stuff. But she's almost mocking it. And you could watch now. It's almost like it doesn't really look interesting.
Yeah, it's almost more of a requirement of filming. Yeah. It is a metallic filming. There's no actual like intention with the scene, except that it was probably in the script. It's a movie that I would compare to Cabin in the Woods and Scream, because both of those films are dissections of their respective ideas, break them down, really tear them apart, and see what makes them work. But then they're also really good versions of the movies they're kind of making fun of. Because I watched Slumber Party Massacre for the first time, not really seeing
the parodies of it
going on. Yeah. I just thought it was kind of a bad movie that I loved. We used to get together with friends of mine in high school. We actually had one of our friends' mother owned a scrapbook store. We would gather in the basement of her scrapbook store.
That's where you watch it.
And we would watch horror movies and stuff together. And this was one of the ones we picked purely on the title. And I just remember thinking, like, it's kind of terrible, and I kind of love it. But then the more I've revisited the movie, the more I've watched the sequels, the more I've like just discussed it with other people, those feminist iconography pieces have kind of entered my thought process. And then the more I watch it, I'm like, God, it's so clever at the same time. It's stupid and clever. It's
when at the end, when she takes her sword and she cuts his drill off, and the sound effect it just goes in the water.
It's the most emasculating plop I have ever seen.
But Amy Jones, Holden Jones, she knows what she's doing. She's doing the color red. I mean, you want to do a drinking game and find red in this movie, you're going to just be annihilated by the end. Because even the beginning of the movie, the house is brick red. Mm-hmm. I mean, the drinks for the party are red Kool-Aid.
Yep. And we got the title card, the title Slumber, and it's got like the massacre in red, and the opening titles are red. Like just everything is. Again, it goes back to that I didn't realize how intentional it was. I'm not even really entirely sure that everything was intentional. It's kind of accidentally great because it had two competing ideas with Roger Corman in the middle.
Right. Doing how far can I push the envelope with this?
Exactly, yeah.
But I do understand that she's an effective filmmaker, even though we try to get the title kind of a slasher B kind of a version of it. But she's a very effective filmmaker.
It works because she's good at what she's doing. It's just that you get the sense of like, what was she going for, and did it turn into a movie that she wanted it to turn into, or was there the pull of the Corman, or was there the pull of the Brown? Like three different competing ideas made it into such a weird movie.
I would like to see maybe Mel Brooks take a whack at it, see kind of parody. How far it can go with the jokes.
I'd like to see Mel Brooks slasher movie anyway.
Everybody kind of will, but I do like the filmmaking of this. It's supposed to overly attempting to make it look cheap.
Yeah. And part of the reason why I think a lot of it was more intentional than at least I give credit for is that when the film was written, it was written called Sleepless Nights. And it was tried to be sold. Well, it was Sleepless Nights, and they tried to sell it as Sleepless Nights when they were trying to get locations, because they knew that people would probably give up their home for an erotic thriller over, like a classy erotic thriller over a.
That's the whole point of the movie. Is what you're selling is where you're trying to overcome.
And so that's kind of funny. Was even though they were making the movie, they're like, we can't tell people we're making Slumber Party Massacre. Like we have to hide it, which is so brilliant to me that they were like, well, we don't know what we're going to call it. We're going to go with this maybe. Like,
best thing about 80s horror movies is on the title they tell you what it is.
Yeah,
there's no trickery to it. Right?
Exactly. Yeah,
it's pretty much blunt. Yeah.
Well, and that's true for both the sequels as well. They both follow pretty much the same formula, just with a different killer and different people.
That's the whole point of the 80s. You don't, for the sequels, you still haven't learned your lesson.
The Corman machine just kept on chugging. The film was followed by 2 sequels and a remake. You also have Jim Wynorski, who's like an infamous sequeling director that would just make really kind of terrible movies. He made a movie called Cheerleader Massacre that was going to be a 4th movie. And then there was also Sorority House Massacre, which had its own 2 sequels that's kind of tied in because they reference events in this movie. So there's like 9 of these movies.
But I think it delves into, and you point out that all the sequels and stuff, but it's a very feminist movie. It's the dynamics of girls at high school. You know, oh, we have to bring this girl into our clique. Yeah, she's not one of us. And she kind of is the hero of the story. She's kind of the outliner, the outsider.
Yeah, it's nice to see though. When you have a movie that hits some of the feminist ideals of like the strong female characters, and there's a number of strong female characters in the film, but it's not beholden to the fact that, you know, I hate using this term, but when people criticize like the Mary Sue character, which is like the female character who's just all of a sudden better at everything than men are. People said like Rey from Force Awakens was a Mary Sue, which I think is stupid. But in this movie, not all of the characters are brilliant. Some of the girls that are at this slumber party make some stupid choices, and they pay for it. And that's
we got a dead body.
Juxtaposition.
Pizza's here.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, but then you even get like the dumb males, and you get kind of the inversion of, I think we're supposed to suspect that next door neighbor is.
Oh, weird. I love that. Yeah,
I think we're supposed to suspect that he might be somehow involved, or that he's kind of a pervy guy. Like, we don't really know what to think about him because he's given like so little screen time, and yet he's something that he makes me very uncomfortable. But he doesn't really do anything wrong through a bulk of the movie.
No, you always get those in horror movies.
Yeah, just like the creepy next door neighbor.
We talked about the prom
weird.
night. Yeah, the creepy janitor.
It's
like a false alarm.
Yeah, I think the idea is that we're supposed to suspect that he's going to do some horrible things. And he's kind of just there in the movie. And same thing with the teacher. Like, the teacher we expect to come in and save the day, and she, like, fails horribly.
Yeah, and that gym class is weird.
Yeah.
That gym class is all weird. Some standards, yeah. So.
Yeah, there's a number of real odd choices in the movie, but I think that goes back to kind of sending up the material while also celebrating the material. Because this movie came out in, we've said it before, the string of post Friday the 13th.
Well, 81,
Halloween
right?
movies.
81 is like almost every week was a slasher.
By the time 81 came around, we had 2 Halloweens and a Friday the 13th. So, and the second one on the way. Yeah. So in 81 we had
came
things
from
like
Canada
Prowler,
too,
Burning.
right?
We had Canadian horror films were hitting all the time too. So we were inundated where many of the good slashers completely got missed. Yeah. And this movie kind of hit at the right time where people had kind of gotten out of that slump. And it hit in a weird way where people didn't know how to feel about it.
Yeah, and it's almost another remark of you're making fun of what we like.
Yeah.
Yeah, and because it's pretty much making fun of what you like.
Yeah.
Rather than being a parody almost. I'm saying a parody like a love story, but this is almost like, you really like this crap?
Yeah.
We'll show you what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. And that again goes back to, I'm not sure about the intention, because as we say with things like parody and satire, Mel Brooks said it best, I quoted a lot, in order to parody something you have to love it. And I don't know, did Rita Mae Brown like this kind of stuff? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
But I think Amy Holden Jones had a certain respect for it, because again, she's also making it as a very straight-laced horror movie.
There is some comedy to it. I mean, the newspaper.
Yeah.
The driller's out loose.
Yeah.
Like,
and it lands perfectly, and it showcases it right like that, and they're like, hey, that's the plot. Like, 2 minutes in, we know where we're going.
Yeah, and the guy tackled the girl right at home, and he's being
and the neighbor's like, I won't tell them you're smoking weed as long as you don't tell them I scared the crap out of you. Like, and the plop of that. There's a lot of like, again, I can't tell if it's all of it's intentional or unintentional, but it works.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's really clever is it's a movie. When you make a low budget movie, intention kind of goes out the door. Because we've all worked on, a lot of us worked on.
It's on the cover right there, what it's all about. Oh no, you have a drill.
Yeah, but intention goes out the door because you don't really know what had to be done for budget, what had to be done for time, what had to be done, or what was chosen to be done. When you watch a $200 million film, everything is intentional because they're spending a lot of money. They can afford to. When you watch a movie that's less than $1 million, sometimes you just got to take what you get and roll with it.
And I think like the time, it was just kind of a throwaway kind of a movie that's for rentals, but now it's talked about as almost a classic.
We just had a remake last year that actually a lot of people seem to enjoy. I haven't seen it, but a lot of people really enjoyed the remake to this film.
I haven't seen it either.
Yeah, so it's still pervading
part of the consciousness.
Culture.
It stayed, and when we're talking about it, and I'm trying to establish, it stayed in our consciousness longer than E.T. has.
Yeah.
Yeah, because now E.T. is just kind of a bygone thing, where now this is kind of talked about and almost studied.
Yeah, we go back to with the E.T. thing, like the things that we talk about with E.T. Again, the video game. We also talk about the like really weird choice to replace guns with walkie-talkies. Like we talk about the weird things with E.T. That's how that still pervades. Whereas this movie kind of hit a cult
The
following.
vacuum, the vacuum.
You know,
Talk
and
about
if you have Shudder, this is a perfect movie to watch with your subscription to Shudder. It's 75 minutes. It's very short. It's cat people length, and then it's also it's just a quick watch, and the sequel's on there too. So you've got plenty of options for Shudder viewers.
And it's, for me, it's unforgettable, and it's, some things are kind of memorable, and
Yeah.
what makes a good movie for me. Not only that, a great movie.
Yeah, when you describe the movie, it doesn't sound unforgettable because it hits all the beats you'd expect it to hit. But I agree with you. After I finished this movie, I remembered watching Slumber Party Massacre to the point where I came across the trilogy in a store, and it was way overpriced, and I was like, damn it, I have to buy it.
I hate you.
Yeah, I was like, damn you, pocketbook.
Yeah.
But I love this movie. I think
Yeah,
I think it's fantastic. I think it's well shot, well edited. Everything works. I think the music done on a Casio MT40 home Casio system
It makes it cheap,
works really
right?
well because
Yeah.
it's cheap and it kind of homages the cheap nature of making a slasher movie because everyone was making one of these.
Because the Roger Corman formula is, we can make it this way, but we can do this cheaper. And he's always going to go, cheaper.
Yeah. Yeah. And Roger Corman is one of those do not give up people. You know, I think there was 3 different directors on The Terror because they kept leaving the production, and he just said, Jack Nicholson, get in there and make some of the movie. Like, he's a guy who does not give up, but if he can pop out a movie for cheap and make a couple bucks on it, he's going to. And the funny thing is, a lot of the movies he made are still celebrated, even though they were made with this kind of sense of making money, because it is a business.
It is business, right? And I think the source of the inspiration behind it is lost, but I think it's kind of retained. But, right, you'll find it in the horror category, but there is some satire. There's some parody.
And part of that does come with that cinematography, too. Stephen L. Posey did the cinematography for the film, and inherently you don't think about the cinematography in slasher movies as often as we would like to, but he went on to do, I think, one of the most satirical Friday the 13th films, which was A New Beginning, the one that didn't have Jason in it, as we all know. That was a movie that is so self-aggrandizing and indulgent. I mean, there's the whole thing there where the killer, Jason is stalking someone who's on the toilet in an outhouse singing doo-wop songs with his girlfriend, and it's like, there's a very intentional silliness to that one as well. And I think that comes with the visual sense, the plopping of the drill. Like there's comedy to it.
Setup of intentionally of the gymnasium where you set up in the upper rafters and you see her walk across and the door's locked.
Exactly. Yeah.
But you keep the camera still. You keep it for another take of her screaming, where it just echoes throughout the building, and that's clever storytelling because you understand that. All right, take 2. I want you to scream so we get another retain back to where we came from.
Yeah.
But you show the whole scope of the door's locked, but you not only just zoom in on her, but the whole environment of nobody gives a crap.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man.
Even at school, nobody cares.
Yeah, and I mean, we had 2 people murdered in a school day, surrounded by people, I assume.
And somebody's dead, but hey, pizza's here.
Yeah.
Oh, hey.
Yeah, well, I mean, eating helps me, helps de-stress me. I completely agree with those characters. If you're in a situation and people are dying around you, you're going to want some pizza. You need the energy. So I think the movie is fantastic. I think it's a feminist
It's written by a woman, directed by a woman. It's edited by a woman. And before we go, Wendy Green Bersamet, she did License to Drive, My Girl, Mean Girls, and Kindergarten Cop. So
okay.
There's a certain theme to hers if you want to find. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yes. I think the movie, I think we celebrate, and we've tried to celebrate all the things that we've enjoyed about the film. I think, like you mentioned, everything, technically speaking, behind the camera works really well. I also think the way that it's written gives these female characters a lot to do, and it showcases them as smart, where they don't always make the right decision, but they learn from their mistakes too, and they get to evolve together. I think it's a great on-set group of final girls where there's more than one, because they're all actually capable, which is something you didn't see before, you still don't see after.
Yes.
So we love the movie. Have you seen Slumber Party Massacre? Let us know.
We're celebrating its 40th anniversary, so check it out. If you have an opinion of what we talked about, make a comment down below.
Exactly. Yeah. Let us know what you thought about the film, the sequels, the remake, the people that appeared in it. There's a lot of movies connected to Slumber Party Massacre, and we'd love to talk all of them with you. So please let us know your thoughts on that down below. While you're down there, please consider liking and subscribing. There are 2 things that you can do that are free. Help support the channel. Yeah, make sure that your friends are aware that they can check out new episodes of our show Monday, Thursdays, and Scary Movie Saturday for more of that. And you can find all my film reviews over at goatfilmreviews.com.
And you can find my show, the St. Paul Filmcast, anywhere you find podcasts.
Well, I want to point out, since you're wearing red, you know what happens to the red guys on Star Trek, right?
Yep.
I'm just going to get out of